What happens when two of the most outspoken personalities in entertainment sit down for what's supposed to be a light-hearted morning show interview, and it turns into one of the most explosive confrontations ever captured on live television. The tension was immediate. The questions were cutting, and what unfolded next left the entire studio in absolute shock. Before we get into this, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling us what you think really happened here, because what you're about to see is almost impossible to believe. The cameras are rolling on Good Morning America. The studio audience is settled in, and Michael Strahan is at his desk with that signature smile, ready to welcome his next guest. Charlie Sheen walks out to polite applause, looking sharp in a dark suit, his expression unreadable. They shake hands. Sheen sits down, and for about 10 seconds, everything seems normal. Michael starts with the usual welcome. Thanks, Charlie, for coming on. Mentions how great it is to see him. Charlie nods, says thanks. Adjusts his jacket. The audience is expecting the typical celebrity interview. Some laughs. Maybe a story about his latest project. That's not what they're about to get. Michael leans forward slightly, still smiling, but with a glint in his eye that suggests he's about to go somewhere interesting. So, Charlie, you've been pretty quiet lately compared to, a few years back. What's changed? Are we seeing a different version of you now? Or is this just the calm before another storm? The question hangs in the air for a moment. Charlie's jaw tightens just a fraction. He lets out a short laugh, the kind that doesn't reach his eyes. Different version. Michael, I'm the same guy I've always been. The difference is some people finally stopped making a living off twisting every word I say. Michael's smile doesn't fade, but his eyebrows raise slightly. That's interesting because a lot of people would say you gave them plenty to work with, wouldn't they? I mean, come on. You had some pretty wild moments there. Charlie shifts in his seat, his tone cooling noticeably. Wild moments, sure. But here's the thing, and I want to be clear about this. When you're dealing with the kind of pressure I was under, the kind of scrutiny, the constant cameras, the hit pieces, people act like I was the first person to ever have a rough patch. You ever have a rough patch, Michael? The question comes out sharp, almost challenging. Michael pauses, clearly not expecting to be put on the spot like that. I mean, sure, everyone has tough times, but Charlie, you were making some pretty bold claims back then, talking about tiger blood and winning when, respectfully, it looked like you were going through something serious. Now, Charlie's smile is completely gone. Bold claims, right? You know what I love about this industry? Everyone wants you to be honest until you're actually honest, and then they call you crazy. I was speaking my truth, Michael. Was it unfiltered? Absolutely. Was I dealing with some stuff? Sure. But I wasn't lying about what I was feeling or what I was going through. Michael nods slowly, trying to maintain control of the conversation. Okay, I hear that. But you also lost your job. You lost a lot of money. Relationships fell apart. Looking back now, do you think maybe you could have handled things differently? Charlie leans back, crosses his arms. Could I have handled things differently? Maybe. But you know what else I think about? I think about all the people who made millions talking about me, writing about me, doing segments about me. Where's their accountability? Where's their apology for profiting off someone else's struggle? The studio has gotten noticeably quieter. Michael tries to redirect. I don't think anyone was trying to profit off your struggle, Charlie. People were concerned. Your friends, your colleagues, they were worried about you. Charlie cuts him off. Concerned? Is that what we're calling it? Because from where I was sitting, it looked a lot like entertainment. It looked like everyone gathered around to watch the show, to see how far I'd fall. And now that I'm sitting here calm and collected, suddenly everyone wants to play therapist and ask if I've learned my lesson. Have you learned anything, Michael, about how this business chews people up? Michael's expression shifts, the friendly TV host persona cracking just slightly. Okay, hold on. I'm not attacking you, Charlie. I'm asking questions that I think our audience wants answers to. That's my job. Charlie leans forward now, his voice lower but more intense. Your job, right? Your job is to sit there in your comfortable chair and ask people about the worst moments of their lives while pretending it's all coming from a place of concern. You ever been where I was? You ever had the entire world watching, waiting for you to mess up again, so they could get another headline? Michael's jaw tightens. I've had my share of challenges, Charlie, but we're not here to talk about me. We're here because you agreed to come on and discuss your career, your life. If you didn't want to talk about this stuff, why did you agree to the interview? The question lands hard. Charlie stares at him for a long moment. I agreed because I thought maybe, just maybe, we could have a real conversation instead of this rehearsed garbage where you pretend to care while really just looking for the sound bite that'll trend on social media. The audience is completely silent now. You can feel the tension through the screen. Michael sits up straighter, his voice firm. That's not fair, and you know it. I've been doing this a long time, and I treat my guests with respect. But respect goes both ways, Charlie. You can't come on here, throw accusations around, and expect everyone to just nod along. Charlie laughs, but there's no humor in it. Respect goes both ways. That's rich coming from someone who makes a living asking people to relive their trauma for ratings. Tell me, Michael, what's the plan here? I answer your questions about my breakdown. We hug it out. Everyone feels good. And your producers get their viral moment. Is that how this works? Michael's face flushes slightly. And for the first time in the interview, he looks genuinely rattled. You know what, Charlie? If you feel that way, maybe you should have thought twice before coming on. Nobody forced you to be here. You wanted to promote your new project. We gave you the platform. But yeah, part of that conversation is going to include your past, because that's what people remember. Charlie nods slowly, his expression hardening. There it is. That's the truth, isn't it? You don't actually care about me or my story. You care about the version of me that gets clicks. The version that melted down, the version that makes your audience feel better about their own lives because, hey, at least they're not that guy. Michael opens his mouth to respond, but Charlie keeps going, his voice rising. And you know what the really messed up part is? I came here thinking maybe enough time had passed. Maybe we could actually talk about the work, about what I'm doing now, about the fact that I'm still here, still standing. But no, we've got to dig up every mistake, every bad decision, because that's the only version of me that matters to people like you. Now Michael's composure is slipping. People like me? What does that mean exactly, Charlie? What are you trying to say? Charlie stares at him hard. I'm saying that you built your career on being the nice guy. The guy everyone loves. But at the end of the day, you're doing the same thing everyone else does. You're packaging people's pain as entertainment. You're just better at hiding it behind that smile. The camera cuts to audience members looking uncomfortable, some whispering to each other. Michael shakes his head, his voice tight. That is completely unfair and honestly, it's insulting. I've interviewed hundreds of people. I've had tough conversations, yes, but I've never exploited anyone. And the fact that you're sitting here attacking me personally, when I'm just trying to do my job, says more about where you're at mentally than anything else. That last line hits like a bomb. Charlie's eyes widen, and he lets out a bitter laugh. Where I'm at mentally. There it is, folks. Can't have a disagreement without someone questioning my mental state. This is exactly what I'm talking about, Michael. The second I push back, the second I don't play along with your script, suddenly I'm unstable again. Suddenly we're back to that narrative. Michael raises his hands defensively. That's not what I said. Don't twist my words. Charlie leans forward, his voice sharp. You just questioned where I'm at mentally on live television. Own it. You said it. Don't backtrack now. Michael's voice gets louder. I said it says something about where you're at. And yeah, maybe it does, Charlie, because you're sitting here attacking me for asking basic questions that any journalist would ask. You're being hostile and aggressive, and I'm trying to keep this civil. Charlie stands up abruptly, and there's an audible gasp from the audience. He doesn't take his microphone off, doesn't storm off set. He just stands there looking down at Michael. Hostile and aggressive. Those are interesting word choices. You know what I think? I think you're upset because for once someone isn't playing along with the charade. For once someone is calling out this whole circus for what it is. Michael stands up too now, and the two men are face to face across the desk. If it's such a circus, Charlie, why are you here? Seriously, answer that. Why did you agree to come on my show if you have such a problem with how I do things? Charlie's voice drops to an intense, controlled tone. Because I thought maybe you'd be different. I thought maybe after all these years, after everything I've been through, I'd get an actual conversation instead of an interrogation disguised as concern. I was wrong. Michael spreads his arms wide, addressing both Charlie and the audience. An interrogation. I asked you about your life, about your experiences. That's what interviews are. You want me to just sit here and let you talk without asking any follow-up questions? That's not how this works. Charlie points at him. No, what you want is for me to sit here and admit I was crazy. Admit I was wrong about everything. Play the reformed bad boy who's learned his lesson, so everyone can feel good about redemption. But I'm not giving you that, Michael, because I don't owe you or anyone else that performance. The tension is so thick you could cut it with a knife. Michael's voice is shaking slightly now, whether from anger or adrenaline. This isn't about performance, Charlie. This is about reality, and the reality is you came on this show. You agreed to this interview, and now you're making it impossible to have a normal conversation. Charlie laughs again, that same humorless sound. A normal conversation. Nothing about this is normal. You've got cameras, producers, and audience all watching, all waiting to see what happens next. And you're standing there acting like we're just two guys having coffee. This is theater, Michael, and you know it. The only difference between us right now is I'm being honest about it. Michael shakes his head firmly. No, the difference between us is I'm trying to do my job professionally, and you're having some kind of meltdown on my set. Another gasp from the audience. Charlie's expression goes ice cold. A meltdown? You just said I'm having a meltdown on live television to millions of people watching. You just did exactly what I said you'd do. You just proved my entire point. Michael realizes what he said, and you can see him trying to recover. I didn't mean it like that. I meant you're getting overly emotional about this conversation. Charlie cuts him off immediately. Overly emotional, right? Because heaven forbid someone actually shows real emotion instead of the sanitized media version. You want to know what's really happening here, Michael? I'm tired. I'm tired of pretending everything's fine. I'm tired of smiling through interviews where people pretend they care while really just mining for drama. And I'm especially tired of people like you who act shocked when someone finally tells the truth. Michael's face is red now, his voice rising to match Charlie's intensity. The truth? You want to talk about truth? The truth is you came on here with an agenda. You wanted to start something, create a moment, and now you're acting like you're some kind of victim because I asked you reasonable questions. Charlie steps around the desk now, moving closer to Michael, and security starts moving toward the set. Reasonable questions. You called my honesty bold. Claims. You brought up everything I lost. You questioned my mental state, and now you're calling it reasonable. Michael doesn't back down. Yeah, Charlie, I do think they're reasonable because millions of people watched you go through a public crisis. And yeah, they're curious about where you are now. That's not exploitation. That's human interest. And if you can't handle that, maybe you shouldn't be doing interviews at all. The two men are now standing inches apart, the camera frantically trying to capture both of their faces. Charlie's voice is low and intense. Maybe you're right. Maybe I shouldn't be doing interviews. But if that's the case, what does that say about an industry that makes it impossible to be real, to be vulnerable without being torn apart for it? Michael stares at him for a long moment. And when he speaks again, his voice has changed. It's quieter, more serious. You want to know what it says? It says that people are complicated, Charlie. It says that we're all trying to navigate a world where everything is public. Everything is scrutinized. You think you're the only one who feels that pressure? You think I don't know what it's like to have every word analyzed, every expression picked apart? The difference is I don't blame everyone else for it. Charlie's expression shifts, something flickering across his face. You don't get it. You can't get it. You're on the other side of this desk, Michael. You're the one asking the questions, holding the power in these conversations. You've never been in the seat I'm in right now. Being picked apart, having your worst moments thrown back at you while someone pretends it's all in the spirit of honest conversation. Michael's voice rises again. I've been interviewed, Charlie. I've had people ask me tough questions about my divorce, about my career, about personal stuff I didn't want to talk about. And you know what I did? I answered them or I politely declined. I didn't turn it into a referendum on journalism. Charlie shakes his head, frustrated. Because you've never had to. You've never had the entire world turn on you. Never had every mistake amplified 1,000 times. It's easy to take the high road when you've never hit rock bottom. Michael's jaw clenches. That's where you're wrong. You don't know what I've been through, just like I don't know everything you've been through. But I'm not standing here making assumptions about your character based on one conversation. The words hang between them, and for a moment neither speaks. Then Charlie's voice comes out quieter, but no less intense. Then let me be clear about my character, since that seems to be what we're really talking about here. I made mistakes. I said things I shouldn't have said, did things I shouldn't have done. But I never pretended to be something I wasn't. And when everyone else was profiting off my breakdown, treating it like must-see TV, I was the only one getting blamed for it. Where were the think pieces about media responsibility? Where was the concern about ethics when every outlet in the world was running stories about me 24/7? Michael takes a breath and his tone softens just slightly. You're right. You're right that the media circus around you was excessive. I'll give you that. But Charlie, you also fed into it. You gave interviews. You went on shows. You said provocative things. You can't have it both ways. You can't court the attention and then act surprised when it becomes overwhelming. Charlie's eyes narrow. So it's my fault. That's what you're saying. I brought it on myself. Michael raises his hands. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's complicated. It's not all or nothing. Can we at least agree on that? Charlie doesn't answer immediately. He's looking at Michael with an expression that's hard to read. Finally, he speaks. You know what the worst part is? I came here today ready to talk, really talk about where I've been, what I've learned, what I'm working on now. But the second you started with the greatest hits of my failures, I knew we weren't going to get there. I knew this was going to be another retread of the same old story. Michael's shoulders dropped slightly. Then why didn't you say that? Why didn't you just tell me you wanted to focus on the present instead of turning this into whatever this is? Charlie lets out a long breath. Because I'm tired, Michael. I'm tired of having to manage everyone else's expectations. Tired of having to be careful with every word so it doesn't get spun into another headline. You asked me earlier what's changed, and the honest answer is nothing. Nothing's changed because no one wants it to change. Everyone wants me to be that guy from a few years ago because that guy was entertaining. This guy, the one standing in front of you right now trying to have a real conversation, he's not interesting enough. The audience is dead silent. Michael looks genuinely affected by this, his expression softening. That's not true, Charlie. People do want to see you succeed. People do care about your story, about who you are now. But you've got to give them a chance. You've got to let people in. Charlie's laugh is bitter. Let people in. I let people in and they tore me apart. I was honest about what I was feeling, about what I was going through, and it became a punchline. So, forgive me if I'm a little defensive when someone starts asking me about the worst period of my life on national television. Michael nods slowly. Okay, I hear that. I do. And maybe I could have approached this differently. Maybe I should have started with where you are now, instead of where you've been. But Charlie, you've got to meet me halfway here. You came on my show. You knew what this was going to be. If you didn't want to talk about your past, you should have said something before we went live. Charlie closes his eyes for a moment. And when he opens them, there's something different there. Exhaustion, maybe. You're right. You're absolutely right. I should have said something, but the truth is, I didn't think I'd react like this. I thought I was past it. Thought I could handle the questions without it getting under my skin. Clearly, I was wrong. The two men are still standing, but the aggressive posture has eased slightly. Michael speaks. Carefully. Look, Charlie, I don't want this to be how this interview ends. Can we sit back down? Can we try to actually have that conversation you wanted to have? Charlie looks at him for a long moment, then glances at the audience, then back at Michael. I don't know if we can, Michael. I don't know if I can sit here and pretend everything's fine when it's not. When I'm sitting here feeling like I'm being judged for every word I say. Michael's voice is gentle now, almost conciliatory. I'm not judging you, Charlie. I'm really not. I'm trying to understand. And maybe I went about it the wrong way, but my intentions weren't to make you feel attacked. Charlie runs a hand through his hair, and for the first time he looks vulnerable instead of angry. Intentions don't always matter though, do they? The impact is what matters. And the impact of this conversation is that I feel exactly like I did all those years ago when everyone was watching, waiting for me to break. And I hate that feeling, Michael. I really hate it. There's a long pause. Michael looks down at his desk, then back up at Charlie. I'm sorry. I am. If I made you feel that way, I'm genuinely sorry. The apology seems to catch Charlie off guard. He blinks, processes it. You're apologizing on live TV. Michael nods. Yeah, I am. Because you're right that this didn't go the way it should have, and I have to own my part in that. Charlie stares at him, and some of the tension drains from his body. I don't know what to do with that. I came here ready for a fight, and you're apologizing. Michael manages a small smile. Well, we definitely had the fight. Maybe now we can try something else. Charlie hesitates, then slowly moves back toward his chair. He sits down and Michael does the same. The atmosphere in the studio has shifted, the electric tension replaced by something more uncertain. Charlie speaks first. I don't know how to do this, Michael. I don't know how to talk about my life without it feeling like I'm being put on trial. Michael leans forward, his voice sincere. Then let's not do that. Let's just talk. No agenda, no trying to get anywhere specific. Just two people having a conversation. Can we try that? Charlie looks at him wearily. You really think we can do that after everything that just happened? Michael shrugs. I don't know, but we've got nothing to lose at this point. We're already past the point of this being a normal interview. Might as well see if we can turn it into something real. Charlie considers this, then nods slowly. All right. Let's try. But I'm telling you right now, if you start back with the psychoanalysis, I'm walking off. Michael holds up his hands. No psychoanalysis. I promise. Just talk to me, Charlie. Tell me what you want people to know. Not what you think they want to hear, but what you actually want to say. Charlie takes a deep breath, and when he speaks, his voice is steadier. I want people to know that I'm still here, that I'm still working, still creating, still figuring things out. I want them to know that I'm not the guy from the headlines anymore. But I'm also not going to pretend that guy never existed. He was real. That pain was real, and I'm not going to apologize for it anymore. But I'm also not going to let it define everything I do for the rest of my life. Michael nods, listening intently. That's fair. That's really fair. And for what it's worth, I think a lot of people will respect that. The conversation continues from there. Still careful, still tentative, but with a different energy. The anger has burned itself out, replaced by something more honest, more raw. When they finally wrap, neither man looks entirely satisfied, but there's a mutual respect that wasn't there at the start. They shake hands, and Charlie leaves the set to muted applause. Michael watches him go, then turns to the camera with an expression that's hard to read. So, what did you just witness? Was this a complete breakdown in professional broadcasting? Or was it the most honest conversation ever captured on live television? Did Charlie Sheen cross a line? Or did he finally say what everyone's been thinking about how celebrity interviews really work? Drop a comment below and let us know your thoughts. And make sure you subscribe because we'll be breaking down the fallout from this interview and what it means for both of these careers.